The lies that have been told to me via voice to skull, I'm kind of like looking back at when I first started becoming a targeted individual and saying to myself, if only I had known better, because voice to skull is effective. Um, Mostly when you don't know that this is all planned and this is all staged to sort of destroy your life, and the intent is just completely put you in a disarray, to completely put you in a place where you can't think logically, and you hear these voices or you experience strange events in real life, but because you can't put everything together, you can't make up what's going on, you begin to lose parts of your life. Um, so the first area of my life that was really destroyed by this whole chaos was career and finances. I found myself having lost over $5,000 in the space of about 3 months, and also my career just took a downward, spiral. You know, uh, Eventually became unemployed, and my experience with voice to skull and the whole madness and electronic harassment started off at the office while I was still working at my workplace, and then the other area of life that was really impacted was my social stature. I mean, it's the whole goal is to sort of make you completely socially relevant, so that when you do die, nobody cares about you. When you don't have a job, when you're trying to apply for a job, or when you do try and put bits and pieces of your life together again, you're socially relevant. You can't do that. And my health as well, and thinking about death. I mean, it's so much pressure. It's systematically, it's from the ground up. I mean, the whole system is designed so that you die. At one point, I had lost close to just under 10 kilograms, and from all the stress and all the drama that was happening for close to 6 months, non-stop, 24 hours a day, every day. And it got to a point where I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it anymore, and I was found myself consistently thinking of suicide. But again, as I look back right now with a little bit more knowledge today, I go, hey, I've realized, for all victims, that's actually the goal. That's actually one of the prizes, or one of the goals, that the perpetrators intentionally want you to commit suicide. The other sort of area of life has been law enforcement, where they try and lie to me that I'm going to be getting arrested, or I'm going to be, I've committed some illegal criminal activities. The police are going to be coming to my house, or there's some kind of tax evasion or some kind of tax problem that I've had, and therefore I'm going to be going to jail for that sort of thing. And then the other area of where this voice to skull seems to be doing, it's just always shifting who the culprit is and who the motive is. I think I have a very good idea as to why and who it is. But they kind of always trying to shift the blame. At one point, they were blaming my mom, my own mother, saying it's her, she's involved. Trying to blame, the church, that it's the church doesn't want me, or trying to blame my friends, that it's them. How did I get to start hearing voices? Somebody put a chip inside of me. It might have been one of my closest friends. Just always trying to shift the culprit and the motive. uh, you know, and then what voice to skull does, I mean, it's anybody would tell you that it's the closest thing to schizophrenia. That the voices seem to be attacking you on a personal level, just non-stop, attacking maybe basic stuff, being very abusive, and obviously you don't feel safe. Your security, I mean, there's a lot of surveillance involved in this sort of thing, and you kind of begin to worry about your own, seeing how somebody has hacked into your own account, on all your email accounts have been hacked into. Just listening to somebody read out to you your the amount of money, the salary that you've been earning, and how you've been spending your money, your budget. Just hearing this via voice to skull, and you go, wow, if somebody can hack into my email, or somehow hack into my phone calls, then how secure am I actually? Um, doesn't stop there. It moves on to the sex life as well. Again, this a lot of these strange events started happening while I was at work, and I was shocked to find out that my colleagues know my entire sex life, everything, pretty much everything that I've done for close to 30 years of, my entire, it's something that you would think is a secret. It's stuff that you think is only you know, but they know everything. I mean, everything that you've done sexually. Um, Spiritual activities via voice to skull. I was getting attacked while it's trying to go to church, or while it's trying to pray, or while it's trying to do meditation. And I think there were a couple of instances when I was at church, and it just becomes difficult to listen to the sermon, or to concentrate or to focus. Even when praying, it's, I found myself sort of, they play the tricks on you where you start, cursing at God, using foul language against God. And that sort of puts a bit of guilt or shame on you, and you can't pray, and you pretty much have got to stop. So the point here is that voice to skull does work. It's effective. Besides all the other people running online saying, no, it's schizophrenia, these kind of people are delusional, or these kind of people are insane, or these people are crazy. It does work when whoever is attacking you does lie to you. It does work and it even has an effect on your life. So I sort of sat down with myself and tried to compile a list of where these effects, where it had an effect on my life. It attacked my dignity and self-worth. In real life, when I realized that my colleagues knew what I was doing sexually in my privacy of my own home, it puts a bit of fear and anxiety inside of you when, I've been kept on a leash that I was going to get fired, and there's a lawsuit coming, and my company was going to sue me for, I don't know, for whatever good reason. I can only look back now and go, wow, okay, it was all a kind of just get you to be scared. Quality of life will always be destroyed. Right now, as I'm saying this, it's very difficult for me to find a job. It's very difficult for me I've got pretty much no money in the bank other than debt. I don't eat the same quality of food that I used to eat. I can't travel. I can't go anywhere. I'm pretty much living penniless, pretty much living just literally just surviving. And also a lot of confusion as to who it is, as to why. As I said before, they're trying to blame it on friends and family, and consistently trying to reinforce that kind of lie. And then it does get you angry. The voices are non-stop. There's a whole lot of anger that you're sitting with, and this irritation that just keeps on going because it's non-stop. Once you become a victim, it pretty much goes on for the rest of your life. And obviously you're going to become depressed. You are done without a job, without friends, without anything constructive or positive in your life. That's one clear recipe for depression that's bound to work. Religiously, I've been made to feel guilty about a lot of stuff that I thought were private and have leaked to people. And also the fact that, whenever, like I said before, whenever I would try to pray, there would be curse words. And also I think they lied to me that churches don't want me. There's no church, there's no religious denomination or church that would welcome me in their services. Sometimes they do try and give you false hope that, hey, we're running an experiment on you, we're going to let you free, we're going to let you go. But after a couple of months, like over 6 months of realizing that they keep on repeating some of the lies every now and then, you realize, they're only giving you false hope. So a lot of what they're saying via this voice to skull thing is a lie. It would have been very easy to just dismiss it if there wasn't some kind of reinforcing it using some kind of clever tactic. So the whole point is to try and make the lie come across as truthful as possible. And the first method that they're going to use is covert surveillance. The perpetrators or the guys who are attacking you can see everything that you're doing. At my workplace again, when this whole thing started, everybody could see everything that I was typing out on the screen. So they would critique, they would sort of criticize, or begin to label me as this guy who's not worth the salary that he was earning, or this guy who's not worth, who's not competent, simply because they could see everything that I was doing in my screen. And also the surveillance that was running, in my private house as well, in my private home. My colleagues knew everything that was going on in my house. Another method to try and use is gang stalking. Try and get everybody to say almost the same thing. The biggest lie that was told was that I'm some kind of scammer, and I would walk in the street and people would sort of echo out the same sentiments that were carried out from my office or from my workplace. Wherever I went, I would be at a restaurant at some point, and people would echo out almost more or less the same stuff, using that hidden surveillance again. They would almost framing you, almost like unfairly making you to be this guy or this bad person, simply because they've got this hidden surveillance, framing everything that you're doing on the screen going around. There's a live stream of me trying to work, and it wouldn't look good, but using gang stalking to sort of reiterate the same phrases. Street theater again, just in the street or outside, out and about, there'd be a lot of crazy stuff happening. Um, the other method used to reinforce all these lies is obviously voice to skull, where the perpetrators repeat the same sort of phrases, the same catchphrases, all time and time again for the whole day, 24 hours a day, and it's really difficult to escape this kind of thing. I mean, it's just in your head all the time, and you're not crazy, it's not a mental illness, and you can't shut it out, and that's how it works. That's why it's so successful. So just actual lies we were told, there were probably over 100 of them, but I'm just gonna probably stick to maybe a couple. The first one, I mean, these perpetrators were like repeated, or trying to repeat the same lies and reinforce them, and try and almost like mentally program me and put me into that box to believe that, oh wow, what we're saying is true. And sometimes it would be reinforced by visible faces. Again, it all started in the office. I mean, if it's your own sort of workplace saying this sort of thing, then it must be true, type of thing. And now, you know, it's still a sad situation right now. It's still difficult, but for some of them, for some of the small lies, I can only look back and laugh. That doesn't mean the situation has been resolved. It doesn't mean, I mean, I'm in a better place right now. I'm actually worse off. Again, I mean, quality of life has been completely destroyed right now. No money, no job, no friends, nothing. But for some of the lies that were so outrageous, I can only, as consolation, laugh. I mean, the biggest one was that I was a scam and a con artist. That basically I can't do my job. I go around companies, almost in a way defrauding them or lying to them or presenting myself better than I am, and you know, and I'm actually can't do any work. And this sort of was the foundation of the entire campaign. And it started off as something else that's called workplace mobbing, where you get all the colleagues or all the employees to sort of mob the guy and consistently. I mean, it over a period of about 4 to 6 months. Work wasn't cool for me anymore. Work wasn't pleasant for me anymore. Trying to get my manager and ask him if we can resolve this issue, and blatantly denying that there's anything going on, blatantly denying that there's any kind of hidden surveillance or any cameras, instead suggesting that I'm crazy, instead suggesting that you would be polite or kind enough to send me to some kind of evaluation, psychiatric help, or psychologist. But meanwhile, all of this is going on, and every day I walk into the office, there's a new rumor. Almost every week there's a new rumor that's been trying to be reinforced. Eventually I did sort of resign and quit from my job, but it just kept on going, it kept on snowballing. It spilled into my sort of private life as well, where this lie is being perpetuated that I don't work, I'm a con artist, therefore I deserve all of this, therefore I deserve my privacy to be taken away, therefore I deserve I deserve I deserve whatever it is that's happening. Another lie that they were trying to sort of create was that there's going to be a lawsuit. I'm not sure if they were lying or not. I don't know what I was going to get sued for. I mean, what would have been the basis for that lawsuit? At the time I believed it. At the time I sort of thought it's true. But again, I can only look back and go, oh, maybe it was all part of the play. This sort of lie that I'm a scammer and a con artist worked because, I mean, it's a real situation. If your boss doesn't believe in you, or your company doesn't believe in you, and your company is sort of, you're just walking around the whole day and there's all this hidden surveillance that's going on throughout. And I mean, work is supposed to be serious. It's not supposed to be a place where we kind of are making people doubt themselves, or it's supposed to be very clear cut. If an employee isn't performing, there's meant to be some kind of formal procedure that's being followed, and you kind of sit them down and you call them into an office and said, thank you very much, we're letting you go for these reasons. But instead that was not the case. I was never formally, manager never formally called me into a meeting and said, I think you're a scammer, I think you're a con artist. Instead, when I confronted them, management, they kept on denying that this sort of thing is happening. But the lie worked. I mean, there's no privacy. My colleagues could see everything that was happening on my screen. I think the rest of the world could also see exactly as I type out, as I work. The intention was to, I think, to embarrass me completely, to bring me public shame, and which would mean it works out for them. It works out for my company. I mean, they could turn around and say, "Oh, we did nothing wrong. We paid you a good amount of money. We were nice to this guy, but we never fired him. We were lenient with him." And meanwhile, completely just ignoring the fact that people have got human rights. At no given point can you just put a camera in a guy without his consent and anything, any kind of means or any kind of surveillance, and then use it and then turn around and say, "Oh, but we did nothing wrong. We were nice to him." The second kind of lie was that I was made to believe was that the cameras were actually in my house, that it wasn't anything more sophisticated. It was actually hidden spy cameras inside of my home. Also, possibly it could have been my neighbors that were using some kind of spy cam to sort of take all of these videos of me doing things that I can't even mention. So obviously the voice to scale perpetrators. I mean, it depends on what level of understanding I was at the time. I didn't know that there's other stuff that they could do sophisticated, but by just using your eyes as a camera, everything that you would be seeing, they would be able to see. I didn't know that at the time. I was, obviously my level of understanding, I was still new to all of this sort of abuse. But they progressed to say that it's just cameras inside of me, not mentioning that it's actually remote neural monitoring, that it's more than cameras, that they can actually do a lot more damage than just see through my eyes. The lie worked because I could sense at my workplace that I was being spied on, that there was some kind of illegal surveillance going on. And also, at work there would be videos of me doing stuff in my own home, doing the rounds in the office. It's as a joke, as laughing at a colleague, as just completely trashing the guy's human rights and completely just stepping on the guy's privacy. And again, confronting people would just deny and say, "No, we don't know anything about what you're talking about." And it worked. The lie also worked because I was completely new to this kind of harassment. I didn't know that it was called gang stalking or called workplace mobbing or called voice to skull. I didn't know anything. I just thought life was normal. I just thought people were being mean, but it's actually more than being mean. It's a lot more than that. It's a hard to believe concept that somebody would actually hire a person with just one purpose, which is all of us are used to, if you have a real problem with your employee, you fire him and you let him go, and you don't go in and and do extreme stuff as what would have happened. And then Voice to Skull also lied to me to tell me that there's actually a massive slander campaign happening on Facebook, that everybody on Facebook is talking about me and what I'm doing in my home, and this kind of character that I am, this crazy person that I am apparently, and everybody is commenting about this shocking behavior, that this shocking, strange stuff that's happening. So the lie worked, because I was on Facebook, but unfortunately I didn't actually see anything that was talking about me. I didn't actually see anything. So I think that might have been a lie, or there might have been some people that were commenting. People are always commenting on Facebook. But it's obviously, this case is different because we're talking about somebody's privacy. We're talking about hidden videos, and we're talking about somebody who's going through gang stalking, which is slightly more serious than just somebody saying something funny or quirky and then it goes away for the day. I also lived in town at the time, so there would be, every now and then there would be like crazy stunts. I would walk around town and people would be sort of pointing at me or sort of going, "Hey," kind of know what's going on. And again, this is where the perpetrators are going to turn around and say, but you're paranoid. That's exactly what paranoia is. You think that you're being followed, you think that you're being stalked on, you think that people are talking about you, but it's not. You're making it up all in your head. The fourth lie, Voice to Skull was trying to tell me that everybody's against me, everybody hates me, the whole world, all my friends. Religious organizations don't want me because I'm bringing on a whole lot of baggage, or I've got cameras inside of me, so therefore I'm not welcome. It kind of worked because, again, this is where they reinforce a lie. They're making up a lie, but they're reinforcing it with what you think, with what they think you might believe. It kind of worked because things haven't been going well. For the fact that my colleagues knew my entire sexual history, and that might have sort of been like, hey, church might be a little bit cautious about having this kind of character in their midst. There was also too much street theater. Street theater just means that these planned skits, these planned out chaos or whatever it is, just so to throw off the victim. Um, I mean, my personal life had leaked. It seemed like everybody knew what was going on in my life and almost like my entire life history. And I was surprised that on three separate occasions, I had just complete strangers photographing me. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And what have I done? I'm not really a celebrity. I'm not really well known. I'm just a normal guy. But to be photographed, people taking pictures of me on three separate occasions as though I'm like this well-known guy or some kind of celebrity, that was also strange. Um, so besides just lying via voice to skull, there was also happened to be like some kind of campaign. Like almost every day, these guys would create a new lie, and then it adds up to this massive campaign that they were running. Um, I don't know the extent of the campaign. I don't know if who they lied to. I don't know what kind of lies they were telling to everybody else. I don't know what they were trying to tell, you know. But there was basically a slander campaign just to sort of, it's some kind of character assassination. And I think the first thing that they were saying is that I don't work, and I don't want to work. And funny enough, this actually started out in the office in my workplace, because I basically was telling my managers that if we're gonna continue in this sort of way, I don't want to work for this company. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in a place where you're putting hidden cameras or you're doing. I don't want this violation of human rights to continue. I was basically putting my foot down, and basically that got twisted around into to be made this lie that, hey, look at him now, he's a scammer. He's actually doesn't want to work. He's actually trying to run away from his own work. Second thing is that I'm a thief. Um, Most, and also I steal copy. I would admit. I mean, I've used some kind of copy or internet content online at some point. Um, Basically using somebody else's content, and I wasn't meant to make use of that content. And also, I mean, the thief one has got some legs. I mean, I think at the one place where I worked, I would sort of like take, over weekends I would take like the leftover alcohol beverage. If there was like some kind of alcohol beverage that was left over, I would sort of take that. Um, but then I think making a statement that this guy's a thief is the kind of go, we've got evidence, but I mean, a thief means that your life depends on taking stuff that doesn't belong to you, and that's not the case. So that's just another lie that we're reinforcing. Another one is that I'm a killer. I honestly have got no idea. I've got no clue as to how they would have come up with this one. Um, they went around telling people that I don't eat, and maybe there was some truth in that. I mean, a couple of months into this whole mess and this whole sort of being thrown around and being jumbled up, obviously I would lose appetite. I wouldn't become happy. I was eating less meals a day, but I was still eating. He doesn't sleep. Apparently, I didn't sleep. Obviously, with the chaos, I would, they're trying to make it seem as though I'm this guy who doesn't sleep, but I wasn't sleeping peacefully. I was losing sleep. I mean, nothing was going well. There wasn't. Almost every minute of the day, there was something going on for months and months and months and months. Um, they were actually running ahead of themselves. I mean, voice to skull does actually disrupt your sleep, intentionally make you not sleep for the whole night. And they started saying this maybe a month before they actually carried it out, where I wouldn't actually sleep for some reason for the whole night. I wouldn't sleep. I would only sleep for maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour. I would get into bed at 10 o'clock at night and only fall asleep at about 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock the next morning. He doesn't wash his clothes. Um, Again, it's one of those things where I would say it's almost like a setup. I mean, I had gotten to a point where I was really depressed, and I think I hadn't done my laundry for about 2 weeks or something. And they kind of like took that and go, yes, now we have him, and he doesn't do his laundry ever. And it was a bit of a lie. I mean, it's all depression. It's all like a setup. It's all like they would have pushed you to that state where you actually kind of are depressed, and then it's almost like a setup in a way. That he has HIV. I don't understand the merits of this. I think the plan was to maybe trying to maybe force me to commit suicide, or maybe to try and they know. I mean, this is more than just voice to skull. They know that within a couple of years you're gonna die. You're gonna become depressed, and then when you do die, they would have told the public a lie that, oh, he died of HIV or something. If you lose his weight, if you actually die of actual cancer without having HIV, cancer that they actually caused via radiation, I mean, beaming all the voices into your head, they can just turn around and blame everything on HIV. And then the next thing, which is exactly the point, they were saying he cannot live. I think they're trying to get society to sort of like say, look at this guy, look at how much he's struggling, he doesn't work, he's a weird character, he's a crazy guy, he doesn't deserve to live, he doesn't have to live, he should actually die, he needs to sleep, meaning that he actually needs to die. I need to be killed somehow. I need to die. I need to go to sleep because life is just too much for me. And I think this last one is pretty much them again trying to blindfold everybody, like, because eventually I think what they are doing is murder. What they are doing is killing you, systematically killing you. But they're not telling the public. They're not telling the rest of the world as to, it's them who's killing you. They creating all this sort of smoke screen that the real reason as to how I would have died. So again, going back to the lies and lies that they would have been telling to me, and the lies that they would have made me to believe. They actually used voice to skull for close to 90% of all their lies, 89%. Voice to skull meaning by just saying stuff, by just throwing lies into your head while you're watching TV. They might be commenting to you and saying, "Hey, whatever," or as you're driving, they're saying a couple of things to you, chipping into your little ear, almost whispering ideas and whispering all sorts of lies. So the method that they used for 89%, which is almost all the lies, have come from voice to skull, by just saying stuff into your ear. But it wouldn't have worked if there was no gang stalking involved. All these lies wouldn't have worked if I didn't have problems at my office at work, and if there wasn't any kind of street theater, if they didn't actually pay people to carry out and say the same stuff that they were saying in the street. I mean, I would take walks in the park and I would bump into random people, random strangers saying, "Hey, this guy doesn't work," whispering exactly the same phrases that these guys are whispering. And then also the surveillance is another thing. I mean, if there was no hidden camera or some kind of taking videos of me and sharing them, all the lies they were telling wouldn't have worked. So the areas of life that I think they were targeting, I mean, the biggest one is social stature and family, where I think they made me completely socially relevant, and in whichever way you look at it, I mean, this guy, it just wasn't going to work out for me socially. It just wasn't. I wasn't going to be able to have to make new friends, to build new relationships, with all this chaos and people knowing exactly what was happening. You just become so socially unattractive and almost repulsive. Not that people are really against me, but they just don't want to be around somebody who's going through a lot of, like, a whole list of negative stuff. The second area that they were targeting, or that was impacted, looks like it's health and death. I mean, what I've done is I've taken a list of like over 100 lies that they were saying to me, and I've tried to group them and try and categorize them and see, what area of life were they trying to impact, or what area, how where were they spread in terms of like a summary. So health and death was the second biggest set of lies out of the over 100 that they were saying to me on a continuous basis. Basically saying stuff that I'm gonna die, or I've got HIV, or I'm unhealthy, or somebody's gonna come and kill me, or those kind of things. And then career and finances, that was a real impact. I mean, it's an impact that's not going to go away. It's, again, sitting right now without a job, without a means to make a living. And then there are a whole lot of other little lies as well. I mean, like spiritual activities that would kind of try and lie to me that churches don't want me, that I can't pray, that almost, I think it would have been a ridiculous lie if they said that God doesn't want me, God hates me, or they didn't go that far, but they were kind of hinting at it. They were trying to kind of sway me into that sort of direction. And obviously, all of these things have got an effect. When you don't have a job and you're depressed, and there's a whole lot of rumors flying around about you consistently, not for 1 week, not for two. It doesn't go away. It's consistently happening. It does have an effect that's caused. And the first time around when I heard these lies, I mean, the initial effect was, I think there was a lot of confusion and doubt, which is 23% of it was around confusion. I was really confused. They're trying to confuse me to say that my family is involved, or confusing me as to what was really going on. And then obviously dignity and self-worth was attacked. They would directly attack me. I'd be sort of watching TV. They would say something like, "You're gay because you're watching, a show that's got a lot of women," or they would talk about even mention my favorite porn movie or something like that, which happened to have been straight, or they'd just attack your dignity, like in any little thing that you're doing. And then the other part is just, you know, depression. I mean, you are bound to get depressed when all of this is happening. There's no way around it. I mean, even if you're like a very strong person who's quite genuine, I mean, you're just simply gonna get depressed. Unfortunately, there's no easy way around this. Um, I mean, the rest goes. I mean, there's fear and anxiety, quality of life, and this is sort of, I think, the whole point. That obviously at some stage my eyes opened up and I started learning and I started finding out that this is actually a system. This is actually called gang stalking. This is actually called voice to skull. I started learning and knowing that there's actually names for all of these kind of things that are happening. And all the stuff in blue is, I tried to, again, I used basis of 100 lies. It would have been more than 100 lies. And I tried to rate each one out of 10, the amount of impact, and added up all the scores, and put the scores in a different sort of category or different impact. Um, so the blue is the initial, when I heard the lies for the first time, when the lies were still effective, when the lies were still working, and I didn't have a clue as to what was happening. And then the red is when I started finding out for the first time that the guys are just, they're just fooling around and it's a system. And the green is the impact that it has on me today, even when I do know the truth, even when I do know everything. So with the anger and irritation, I mean, I wasn't angry at first, and it sort of died down when I understood what was happening. But right now, I'm angry that this is not gonna go away. I'm not ever gonna be able to get out of this sort of thing. This is gonna be lifelong, and I worked for a company that sort of, it seems like they just did this. It seems like I don't know if they're making profit out of this whole thing. So that's what I'm angry about right now. That, I didn't start off as angry because I thought it was going to go away. I thought I was going to be able to walk away and start a new life and progress and have a future. But now I'm angry that I'm not ever going to have a future. I'm sitting here a long time having left, and things are not going well, and it's almost like a prisoner. It's almost like you're in some kind of jail or something. And then confusion and doubt. It kind of makes sense that it's a lie. It's going to get you to doubt and be confused because there's a lie, and there's also street theater. There's people saying the same thing. There's people in the office doing funny stuff, and you're just gonna be completely confused as to what's going on. Whether and then it naturally it was gonna die down. I sort of started learning, died down, and now it even dies down a little bit more. I mean, again, the green is the real impact right now. I'm still sort of in doubt as to how they're actually using the stuff, how the technology actually works. There's still a couple of things I don't know. And then in terms of depression, I mean, the first time around I would get depressed, and then it went down because I thought everything was going to be okay. I thought everything was going to be alright. I thought this whole thing was just going to die off by its own account. But right now I'm actually more depressed than I had ever been before, because I know the truth. I know that this is a lifelong system. I know that I don't actually stand a chance of making a living. I know that I don't stand looking at a whole lot of other victims as well. I mean, they're all saying the same story. They're all saying kind of more or less the same thing, that life is hard, depressed also because of all the other stuff that's happening right now, the actual physical pain, the actual attacks, that every night almost I'm getting attacked in one way or the other. It's very difficult for me to sort of, there isn't a single day where there's nothing. There's not a good day. There hasn't been a good happy week for a long time. And knowing that this is probably going to be for the rest of life, that's what's actually making me depressed than even when this whole thing started. And also my dignity and self-worth. It's right now, currently, the green stuff, I'm realizing that it's going to be hard to sort of make friends. It's going to be hard to be a member of society again, because it's a system. This whole gang stalking thing, it's a system that goes and pollutes relationship. Now that I actually know, I feel like my self-worth is actually less has gone down more, because I know that whatever it is that I do, they're gonna intentionally go out and try and sabotage it. in terms of giving false hope, they would lie to me and say, it's going to be okay, this is going to be over. But kind of now I know it's not going to be over, and I know I don't have any kind of false hope, hence why the depression is a bit high. And then the fear and anxiety, that's the first, it was high. Right now I've got no fear. I suppose it's depression takes away all the fear, and knowing that, knowing that things, there's no fear right now. I mean, there's this, when you know that you're not going to have a job, when you know that you're not going to have friends, when you know that there's somebody systematically destroying your life, and you know that you're not paranoid, and you know that you're not schizophrenic, and you know that you're not crazy. It's the lowest that you can be as a person. And I mean, the worst fear is actually happening. The worst fear that you would have no control, you would have no freedom, you would have no privacy. It's actually happening, and you can't. There's nothing else to fear right now, because it's not a good thing, but it's because the worst thing is actually happening. In terms of quality of life, this is a negative impact, by the way. I mean, it doesn't mean it's a good thing. I mean, quality of life started off impacted, and now I understand. I mean, the food, the kind of food, having no money right now, having no freedom, having nothing, having absolutely no materialistic, not so much materialistically going, no money in the bank, nothing. Quality of life obviously is gonna suffer. And then religious guilt and shame. So they were trying to make me embarrassed. They were trying to convince me that no church wants me, or nobody wants me. This has actually gone down a bit now. Obviously still very concerned that if ever it gets to a point where they can actually sabotage my spiritual gatherings, there's still a bit of a religious concern there. So voice to skull is effective. It works. It's possible, I mean, to cause 89% of the damage, almost 90% of the damage by just spamming somebody, if you're just doing it consistently 24 hours a day. But the real thing is that what makes it work is that they've got to reinforce it with something. They've got to reinforce it with a real life scenario, like at work, where you don't have a job, where you've been fired, or something has happened, or there've been spy videos of you doing the rounds that are not pleasant. And the lies are actually believable at first when you don't know what's going on, when you can't put things into perspective. It's more than just a gimmick. It's more than just somebody saying stuff. It's more than just somebody saying random stuff to you 24 hours a day, because then you just dismiss them. It works. It's a psychological tactics. It's not good. It destroys your life. It's so distractive. It's so disruptive. It actually hampers you. It actually almost like paralyzes you, and it reduces you into a nothing when you're going through this sort of thing. So I've actually made a whole other videos as to why this thing is actually more effective.